goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
Very excited for this. We got some action today. Josh Moore, head coach at Kent State University. What's going on?
Yeah, not too much. Just we got a little workout, so just getting home and grab the iPad and ready to go.
I love it. Well, it's obviously like you just took over the program a little while back, previously at Cleveland State. I'm rocking my Cleveland State shirt here. Shout out to Devin Schroeder, who we'll get to a little bit later, for hooking me up with this. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a surreal, maybe, last couple months here. So talk a little bit about, I guess let's start with just the state of Ohio, right? I think it was really cool how these shirts just had the state in general on it to begin with, right? But talk about the state of Ohio wrestling. Obviously, Kent State, where you're taking over, Cleveland State, which is now gone. You've got Ohio State, and that's just the D1 programs, right? But talk a little bit about the state itself and the pride that the state has with the sport of wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we talk about high school wrestling or just wrestling in general, there's a few states that really come up in the conversations with no matter who you're talking to and where they're from. And it's typically PA, Ohio, Illinois, sometimes New Jersey, and a few other states here and there. But really, Ohio always stands out to be one of the best states, whether it's depth of weight classes, quality high school coaches, club coaches. If you look at, just a variety of things, there's just such a great wrestling community in this state, and people love the sport. They love the competition. They love the rivalries of high schools and even some colleges, D1, D2, D3s. I mean, so no matter where you look at and at every level, wrestling in the state is very important to a lot of people. Unlike other states where it might be basketball states or football states, like wrestling is a priority in the state, and you can just see that with the passion and energy, that the fans bring, and these different youth clubs and middle school, high school clubs. It's just all around. If you just, no matter, honestly, it's funny, no matter where I go, I'll run into somebody that has wrestled or that knows somebody that I've coached, or there's always a connection. And that's what I think really is really cool about Ohio. Just that you can always connect with somebody about the sport. And
100. Oh, it's awesome. I think back a couple of years that NCAA's was in Cleveland. Obviously, it's coming up again this year, which should be exciting. And then there's the Really American Freestyle event coming up on the 30th of this month as well. But yeah, I loved it. It was such a fun time. So many people. The fans were out and about everywhere. Everybody's in a great mood because they're watching wrestling. So excited for that coming up. But speaking of Cleveland, you were at Cleveland State working in building. There was a couple years back where they thought they were losing the program. You were able to fight back and stabilize it for a moment. And then ultimately here we are, right? It was a short-term solution. Sadly, it is what it is. But talk a little bit about just kind of the approach in that time frame, right? I mean, the difficulty of building a program and knowing that there might be some instability behind the scenes, and just kind of how you and your staff kind of tried to approach that.
So when I arrived at Cleveland State, it was 10 years ago, months after they cut the program for those, was it a week or two? And at that point, the students had voted to bring back the sport and to fund it through a student fee. And that student fee brought in somewhere close to $800,000 a year, which if you look at, our program, we operated somewhere around $400,000 for salaries, scholarships, everything. So really the students voted to keep wrestling and add another women's sport. But that fee really supported the athletic department as a whole, well beyond the sport of wrestling. So it was a really amazing thing that happened there. And there was a lot of people behind the scenes that made that happen. So honestly, when I went there, I was an assistant coach. I left Kent and went to Cleveland State and was an assistant coach. And I felt good about their program and in the place it was at because of that funding that was coming in well above, what it costs to run a mid-major D1 school.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly there was a lot of challenges to begin when I started coaching there, just because everybody always asks the question, whether it's recruits and even the donors and alums, like, hey, they cut the program. Is there support for the program? I don't want to send my kid there, or I don't want to continue giving money if the athletic department's not supporting it. And, at the time, the answer is, yeah, actually the students kept the sport. They funded the sport. Like, we're in a good place, so we battled for years and years trying to, push through that kind of negativity and that perception of people like, hey, Cleveland State really doesn't care for wrestling. But really, honestly, thinking about that, and every time I talk about it, I connect more dots. And at the time, it was really just the athletic director's idea of, hey, I want to add lacrosse, and to add a sport, I'm going to have to get rid of a sport. And one person basically made that decision that they were going to cut sport. So I guess looking at it now, what we were dealt with this spring was really kind of the same idea. We did have a slight idea that obviously there's since COVID, really, all universities had to make some difficult decisions, some budget cuts, some sacrifices. And we at Cleveland State were right in the middle of that. We were told 4 years ago that we were losing 80% of our scholarships. So we went from 9.9 scholarships to 2 scholarships. And it was a 4 or 5 year phased in process. So we just, every year we'd lose a scholarship or two. And at the time, my mindset was kind of like, hey, this is a challenge. We're going to have to find other ways to recruit kids. We're going to have to find alternative ways to get them scholarship. We're going to have to do more with less, and it's going to be a challenge. But what wrestling coach isn't up for a challenge? Mm-hmm. So we tackled it head on. Honestly, I didn't really tell too many people that we were getting all these scholarships cut. We also got an assistant coach cut. So now we're down a coach and a bunch of scholarships. So we continued to find a way, and we navigated the situation. And I think we did really well, considering we were basically losing 50 to 60,000 a year in scholarships. So we started recruiting really smart kids. We started recruiting more STEM majors that got this Choose Ohio First scholarship. We found ways to, save kids money. Maybe it was on campus or living off campus their first year. Just as coaches, working harder for our student athletes to find a way to make it work for them. And it was definitely a challenge. We would have to wait till later after the state tournament to pick up kids that maybe weren't getting opportunities elsewhere. And really the name of the game was really just recruiting good kids and developing those kids, providing a really great environment, give them a really good experience, set them up for success. And most of the kids were walk-ons. Yeah. And then this spring came around, and again, they were saying, hey, we're going to have to make some cuts. And for us, we were operating on, I think, 3 scholarships this year, and we were getting cut down to 2, but we had fundraised more than pretty much any other program on campus. We had our ticket sales were second to men's basketball. We had $0 for marketing. They didn't give us anything for marketing. We did it on our own. With the relationships that we've had, just hustling, getting our kids out in the community, we thought we put ourselves in a really good position to add value to the athletic department, add value to the university. And we had 35 student athletes on the team with 3 scholarships. So really we had 32 paying student athletes that, essentially had a net revenue for the university. So we thought there was really no chance that we were going to get cut, but but looking at it and just to be pretty honest, again, it was the decision of one person. That was the athletic director that decided, what, she was going to make cuts in wrestling and softball, possibly the 2 of the better sports on campus that fundraised the most money or found ways to operate with little to no scholarship and had a lot of success even at the national level, she didn't see them fitting into, her time as an athletic director. And she was an interim athletic director, which makes it even worse to think that an interim AD could cut a sport that's been there for 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not an easy time. A lot of mixed emotions, a lot of hard feelings, a lot of anger. Again, challenging, but in our mind, again, we stepped up and we said, you know what, our opportunity as coaches is to be there for these young men and make sure they can find new homes, get them through the semester, make sure they're going to class and continuing on their path to further better themselves. And I think we did a really good job of, connecting these guys with coaches and staying by their side until the end of the semester and even beyond to make sure these kids will be given other opportunities to continue doing a sport that they loved. And a lot of them were doing it for nothing. They were just doing it because they love the sport.
It's so tough, and you just think over the last couple of years, so many programs. Eastern Michigan was one, Old Dominion, obviously before that Boise State, and routinely it's the same thing, right? The coaching staff and the athletes are taking care and controlling of what they can control and thinking that they're putting themselves in a position to really continue to do what they want to do at the place where they're choosing to be. And sadly, we're here. But in your circumstances, you're in a great spot. You get to go back to Kent State University, a place where, it's had a ton of success, and we'll get to some of those people there in a moment. But just talk a little bit about the difference, right? Coming in here, the athletic department, the commitment to the program, the commitment to wrestling, and just kind of the feeling you have coming in there and how it's, kind of juxtaposed to what you were just experiencing.
Yeah, it was definitely a fresh breath of air just walking in, even during the interview process, knowing a handful of the people that I've worked with from I left there 10 years ago. So a lot of those people are still there, which in at college athletics, you don't see that a ton. There's always a lot of turnover, people moving up, moving on, whatever it may be. But when a good core group of people stick around a university for a long place, that there's good things going on. So just seeing that on the interview and connecting with people that, that I worked with 10 years ago, and it feeling like, I never left, to be honest, in partial ways. But yeah, Kent is an incredible campus, very vibrant, well taken care of, some really good degrees, just from top to bottom, a place that really, the way I describe it, it can be a good fit for any student, whether you're an average student that wants to go get a degree in criminal justice or, communications, or a business degree, to engineering, to aeronautics, to architecture. There's really, it can fit anybody's need at any level, and it's supported with a great group of people, from our academic advisors to learning specialists to career specialists to, just a good group of people to support any avenue that you really want to get into. And that, to me, what I learned really at Cleveland State, and what I'll bring with me, is like, our job as a coach is more than just coaching wrestling. It's to provide these kids with the support, with the guidance, and motivate them and put them in the right direction. And that's through a lot of different ways, whether you're challenging them to get out in the community, whether you're challenging them to network more, whether you're challenging them to be a better teammate or a better person. There's just so many opportunities as a coach that we're given, and it's just really grateful to be in this position, but even more grateful that I ended up back at Kent, the place I started coaching at when I graduated 20 plus years ago from Penn State, not knowing what I wanted to do, really, just like, hey, I guess I'm going to get into coaching, and not knowing, obviously knowing the sport, but not understanding totally what being a coach meant, other than the wrestling part. But great to kind of learn and adapt and change my philosophy over from when I first started 20 years ago to now, and not a better place to do it than Kent. And just like you said, we've been very successful in the past. During my time there, we had a string of All-Americans from 2009 to 2016 or 17, a national champ, guys that were multiple time All-Americans, conference titles, and guys that I've kept in touch with and got the opportunity to become, closer to and watch them become coaches on their own and have families. And a lot of those, a good amount of those guys still live in Northeast Ohio and will hopefully be a bigger part of my time at Kent and coming back and giving back. And to me, it kind of comes full circle with those opportunities and to see those kids kind of giving back to the sport that, hopefully I taught them some of the stuff that they're providing to their kids now.
No, for sure. And it's funny. I want to get to some of those guys in a minute because, I mean, like, I think I know I said this to you in my message, and people who are watching this probably know, but I didn't wrestle at Central Michigan. I tried to walk on there. Didn't work. Turns out they were pretty good back in the early 2000s. But, I'm an alumni of the university, and so I follow the sport, obviously, love it. And then, obviously there was several years where it was like Kent State and Central Michigan were battling it out for the MAC championship, and it was awesome. But I want to get to that in a second. But real quick, I did want to touch on, it's funny because we talked a lot about coaching at this point, but we haven't talked about wrestling at this point, right? So like you said, there's so much more that goes into a sport. I think it was Scott Green that posted online recently about how important fundraising is. And a lot of these intangibles and being a gritty and being a hard worker and those sorts of things that you're coaching is obviously landing with a lot of your athletes, because some of these guys have come with you from Cleveland State to Kent State. So talk a little bit about what that means and how excited you are to have some of those guys sticking with you.
It means a lot to me. I mean, we went through a lot together at Cleveland State, and even during the last, I guess, even couple months of school, like April, May, into June, I didn't really get named the head coach at Kent till the middle of June. So these guys kind of stuck with me and trusted me when I told them, hey, I got a really good opportunity. I believe I'm going to be the next coach there. Stick with me. Love for you to follow me. And obviously, a lot of them had other options and could have went somewhere else in the meantime, but they stuck with me. And I think a lot of loyalty because of that, but also these kids were from Ohio. So their ideal program was going to be another Ohio program. Mm-hmm. So I think that was important to note that these, Ohio kids, hopefully, at least these ones wanted to stay in Ohio and continue to compete for a school that used to be their rival. That was the biggest match on the schedule pretty much every year for us. So, yeah, but a good group of guys. Parker Pecor, who's a couple times state runner-up. Ruben Lorenzana, who's took third in the state, but just a kid that's showed a lot of heart through injuries and, a lot of life stories with him. And Landon Duncan, who's a nursing major, who's state runner-up, couple-time place winner. A lot of guys that grew up within an hour of Kent. And then Reese Stephen, who was a two-time state champ. Ty Diericks, who senior year took second to state after not placing numerous years. Super, just incredibly hardworking kid. Stephen Duffy grew up 20 minutes from Kent. He's going to be a doctor. Caden Haynes from Minerva that grew up 45 minutes from Kent. So just and Ronnie Dimmerling just got announced too from Canton Glen Oak, another kid 45 minutes away. Could have stayed at Cleveland State and finished his engineering degree, but decided to transfer down with me. So just a good core group of kids that understand the culture and what we're trying, what we did create at Cleveland State, but what we'll be creating at Kent, and some guys that will hopefully become leaders, and other guys will kind of follow, and these guys will, help us promote in this community and really do what we want to do as far as with our vision. And that's just connect our guys with the community any way we can through youth clubs and just being out in the community and making those connections and networking, helping grow wrestling at every level. And then, we hope the community will give back to us by supporting these guys at home events and, at the national tournament in Cleveland this year. So just, we always just talk about creating one big Flash family, and the opportunities just from the people I talk to and the connections I have. I mean, I've lived here for 20 years, 8 miles from Kent. So I don't know if there's a coach within a 30, 40-mile radius that I haven't met at some point or came in contact with or emailed or text with. So a lot of guys, a lot of coaches, a lot of parents, they like what they're seeing already. Mm-hmm. And we're just excited to be able to give back and create a really, really fun experience for people to come to matches and the only D1 school in Northeast Ohio. So the opportunity's there for the taking. We just have to, really take advantage of that and get it done.
Well, this is the best part is not only has it been done there before, and so you can tell people during the recruiting process, like, hey, we've done this, we've gotten this going. Like this is the history, but you've done this there before, right? Like, so just, I mean, you were there, what was it, 04 to 15, you said? Yeah. And so This is the list of, or at least the list that I looked up. If I miss anybody, my apologies. But from 09 up until I think Kyle Connell was the most recent one in 2018. But you had Dustin Kilgore, 2-time NCAA finalist, 1-time NCAA champ, Nick Bedelian. I always mess that up. Is it Bedelian? How do I say that?
Bedelian,
man. Yeah. My apologies, Nick. It was truthfully nothing but respect. Ian Miller, multiple time. Dan Mitchell, Mike DePalma. I feel like I'm missing a name on there, but I mean that's just like multiple guys or multiple time guys or single time All-Americans since 09. Not a lot of other MAC schools have that many people. I don't think any of them, at least current MAC schools, I should say, have an NCAA champion in that time frame. I know that. I think technically Jaden Cox counts, but that wasn't the MAC. So
that was weird. Yeah. Missing Jermail Porter.
Yes. I thought I said Jermail. My apologies.
Okay.
Yeah, because he used to beat up a young Gerard Trice. I remember that being like, man, I can't wait until Jermail gets out of there and Gerard can start winning some matches.
Yeah.
Funny. But no, I mean, like it's been fantastic what's been done there. I'm very excited to see it come back. And so as you get into it, right, what are some of the early steps coming back to the program? I mean, you talked a little bit about community relations and fundraising and getting the excitement level up, but more specific to the wrestling piece, right, and talking with the team, what are some of the things that you're going to be working on initially?
Yeah, so for us, I guess we talk about building these guys up, making them feel good about themselves, building confidence, and putting them in a position to be successful. And for us, that doesn't happen by the alternative of breaking guys down and a lot of yelling and kicking kids off the team and so forth. So we want to build these guys up. We want them. I mean, we believe in them, and we're going to tell them that quite often. We want them to believe in themselves. So I think it's a matter of just changing their perspective on coaching, the tone, the energy levels, and, of course, demanding a little bit more out of them, but they already want that in themselves. So we just want to provide an environment where they can thrive and feel good about what they're doing, because wrestling, it's a tough sport. And athletes these days, in my mind, need a coach that's going to support them and be there for them and find a way to encourage them and talk about the things they're doing good, not always just talk about things they're doing bad and what they need to work on. So, looking at that, the staff that we have, maybe we're getting into this too quick, but like coaching with Devin Schroeder for a year at Cleveland State and coaching with Fred Garcia for a couple of years at Cleveland State, and then he went to Binghamton and he came back. We're all kind of have very similar philosophies on just building these guys up to to get the most out of them. And that's all we can really ask, is just give us everything you've got. Continue to push back the wall just a little bit every single day, and push each other. You know, you're only as good as, you know, your weakest link. So, you know, if we have guys that aren't pushing too hard and supporting each other, we got to challenge those guys to do better. And really looking at the team that Kent had and the guys that we have coming in, I really think these guys are meshing well. They respect each other. They see a different tone in each other, and a lot of smiles, a lot of just happy people, you know. And when you're happy, it doesn't matter with wrestling or any career, when you're happy, you're going to be more successful. You're going to feel good about going to practice, about going to lifting. You're going to feel good about hanging out with the team, and good things are going to happen. So for us, just, bringing positive energy every single day, but telling these guys, listen, you can accomplish this here, and it's a fresh start. So no matter what happened the last couple of years at Kent, we believe in you guys, and we're going to be there with you during the ups and downs, and we're going to be in this together. But, you know, certainly it's we want to win like no other. We understand it's not going to happen overnight. So it's, you know, the magic word, consistency, just day in, day out, get the most in, and, you know, staying healthy. That's been a big one for me. Just looking at the injuries that this team at Kent's had over the last 3 or 4 years. Just, if you continuously have 2 or 3 guys every year get hurt for whatever reason, we'll have to kind of see, you know, maybe why that's happening, but just keeping guys healthy and training and, you know, moving forward is going to be big.
Well, and one thing, and I do want to get to the coaches here. We'll transition to that real quick, but I saw an interview recently, and it was somebody asking Pete Carroll about, you know, his style and his approach as a coach, right? And comparing it to a Bill Belichick or a Bob Knight or somebody else, right? Or Phil Jackson or something. And essentially, just to paraphrase, he was like, look, I mean, there's this military style or militant style of coaching where you break people down and you get them to buy into the system, and then you build them back up. And it's a proven technique that works at certain levels, certainly. And I think that's more their style. But then you've got maybe like the Army Ranger or the Navy SEAL type, where you have to, I mean, you're still going to break them down to some extent, but you also have to build them up and get their confidence, and you're taking a more specialized force. And I love that approach, because it's like, this is too hard a sport to just make miserable all the time. No one's going to get better if you're building them up and you're, you know, adding those specialized skills and all those things. I think it definitely goes a long way. And so let's talk about them real quick. I know about Devin Schroeder a bit, so I'm going to get into him afterwards. But let's talk a little bit about Coach Fred Garcia. Like you said, was with you at Cleveland State, spent some time at Binghamton. You know, what have you enjoyed about his approach that you're excited to work with him again? Or continue working with him again?
So Fred and I go way back. So my brother coached Fred in college. So I think that was pretty neat. We ended up, I don't want to say accidentally, but we ended up both at Cleveland State in 2015. He took a GA position, and that was when I came in as an assistant coach. So it was a somewhat familiar face. You know, he was in the EWL, was the league we were in. So watching him wrestle and talk to my brother about him, and grew up in Western PA. So I think we kind of had some connection at that point. But just really watching his passion for the sport. I mean, he's a wrestling guy, you know, and you have in wrestling, I think you have a few different types of coaches, and he's the guy that will, no matter what he has on, he'll grab a guy that's sweaty and start drilling takedowns or high crotches with them, and doesn't care what, you know, doesn't care what he's wearing or where he at. He's gonna be wrestling and teaching and coaching guys. So that's what I like about him. He's some PA grit to him, and just a wrestling guy. Grew up around some great coaches, and he's grew up with Robbie Waller and the All-American Wrestling Camp system. So just working a lot of camps, teaching a lot of technique, interacting with kids. I think the sport helped him grow up, and it really helped him become who he is, which is pretty amazing. He, when he graduated high school, I mean, I think he wasn't a great student and went to Lock Haven and got a degree, and then came to Cleveland State and got a master's degree. And without the sport of wrestling, I don't know if that would have been possible for him. Mm-hmm. So I think he, in his mind, feels like he wants to give back and pay it forward to the sport. And he's doing that by coaching. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the backstory, but just, yeah, I mean, he's he's an upperweight coach. I watched him coach our guys at Cleveland State, Riley Shaw, Sam Wheeler, some guys that made it to the round of 16 in the same year, just working out with those guys and learning how to, coach big boys. So every staff needs a heavyweight coach, an upperweight coach. And so he was kind of always on my mind when I got to Cleveland State. He went to Binghamton, coached a couple upperweights to All-American and a bunch of national qualifiers. And then, it just kind of worked out that my assistant was leaving and he felt like it was a good time to come back to Ohio. He was engaged to a girl from Avon Lake, which is about 25 minutes away from Cleveland. So it was one of those good fit, good timing situation. And so he came back and has been with me for a couple of years. And again, helped coach Ben Smith, couple-time MAC champ, national qualifier. Our heavyweight, Daniel Bucknavich, just a tank, two-time national qualifier. Fred was in there, worked with him and wrestling with him. So, just a proven guy that loves the sport, loyal. We get along, we pick on each other. But I know he always has my back, and that was important to me. So just nice. Glad to decide to come with me.
No, for sure. Well, and let's talk about Devin real quick. Devin Schroeder coming in from Wyoming, where he was there for a couple years. Before that, obviously with you at Kent State. Not a heavyweight coach, certainly a lighter weight coach. Did a lot of work with Jory Volk out in Wyoming and Cole Brooks and Gabe Willishell and some of those guys. But talk a little bit about what it's like reconnecting with him and again, you're talking about loyalty, right? I mean, he's a guy who's going to come in and he's a Lions fan, right? So that he's loyal no matter what. But yeah, talk about Devin.
Yeah, Devin, I met him at a Guardians game before his senior year and we talked for a few minutes and the main part of the conversation was like, hey, my girlfriend works in Cleveland, good chance that I'll move here after my career at Purdue. And I thought, wow, okay, that seems pretty cool. Really, really tough kid, good kid. If he's moving back here, I'm going to find a way to get him to help out. If he's living close to campus, why not? So yeah, just follow him throughout the season, a couple texts here and there. After the season, I saw him at nationals. It was kind of a tough moment for him. He lost. He didn't play his senior year, but what really sold me on him was like, even after he lost the second match, maybe he was getting water or something. We ran into each other and, he could have just been angry at the world and just ran off and not talked to anybody, but he made contact with me and was like, hey coach, look to stay in touch. No, my career didn't end the way I wanted it to, but I still love to get into coaching. And just his maturity level was what really surprised me about him. And thinking back when I was 23, 24, 25, whatever, like, he was just years and years ahead of not me, but like most kids as far as communicating and being upfront. And that's what I really like that about him. So, everything worked out. He actually moved back to Cleveland. My assistant left. I at first, I was interviewing some people, and it just became clear real quick that he was the guy for the job and a guy that could help us with, really all aspects of coaching, recruiting, fundraising, just networking. That's what I was, again, impressed just on how he understood what it took to build a program, a full program, not just, oh, I'm a good wrestler. And you see that a lot in young wrestlers that want to be coaches. They're good at wrestling, they're good at working out, but they don't understand that there's a lot more to it. And he understood that. And I guess he would probably credit his coaches at Purdue, some of his mentors out there for teaching him, and him picking up on that along the way. But we had a good year with him at Cleveland State. We had almost a record number of MAC place winners. Just enjoyable to coach with. Brings good energy. Will always step up if you need them. Just in the room with the guys, working out with them. But just and savvy too. Just really good at game planning, whether it's with style matchups, with coaching guys certain ways, or whether it's crunching some numbers for scholarships or budget stuff. Just just kind of really savvy in those areas. And one that, as a head coach was like, man, this guy, he's going to teach me a few things. And I think that was the cool part of just learning some stuff off him that first year, and seeing someone different, a different perspective coming in, and someone fresh off of, wrestling at a Big Ten school and being at nationals. And, I don't feel like I've been doing this for 20 years, but it's been a long time. So there's some stuff that I need like brought up to speed with, whether it's technology or, maybe how to talk to kids a little bit differently here and there. But I definitely learned a lot from him, and it was tough to see him go, but he expressed interest in going to a bigger school and, really making a name for himself and building a program. And, I again was, sad to see him go, but I was excited for him to get that opportunity, and always thought like, well, I mean, maybe one day we'll reconnect. And we definitely stayed in touch over the time, and watched some of the recruiting classes he brought in and some of the impact that he had on that program. And when the opportunity came back around, he was definitely one of the top couple guys that I was really hoping that would consider to come to Kent with me and build this program back up to where it was. And he did a lot of research on the program and our past success, and he made some phone calls to people in Ohio that understood Ohio wrestling, and just did a lot of research and background work to make sure Kent was a place that could win MAC championships, produce All-Americans, and that's what we're here to do. And having him and Coach Garcia, and our plan is to bring back some other alums like Ian Miller, who lives 10 minutes from Kent, and Kyle Cannell, who lives maybe 50 minutes from Kent. So we want all these people to be alums, wrestling greats, to be involved with the program at any capacity and as much as they can be. And that's something that I believe will help us, I guess, in my words, take over Northeast Ohio, just with the power of people.
No, I'm really excited, and clearly, Fred sticking with you from the Cleveland State move, Devin coming back, bringing in the alumni. I mean, these are the things that are only going to help build this momentum and build the belief in the athletes and everything else along the way. I wanted to bring up, let me see here. Oh, just the MAC in general. I love the MAC. I mean, I already said it, right? The MAC is fun. From my perspective now, being just an older dude in the media here, like a couple things that I love. The coaches are so happy to talk. They love talking about their program. They love being involved. They're very welcoming. Yourself has been incredibly welcoming on this, and I truly appreciate this.
Yeah.
But you've been here for pretty much your whole coaching career, right? So just talk a little bit about, I guess Cleveland State was in the EWL for a little bit before coming back. So, but talk a little bit about just the fun of the conference, developing talent. You're not getting the 5-star guys who come in, basically ready, right? So talk a little bit about how exciting it is to have that aspect of it.
Yeah, the MAC's been great. I mean, and you're right. It's in a lot of things you do in life, it's about the people. And the MAC has, a core group of coaches that just we get along. We joke a lot. We bicker at each other. Sometimes we want to fight each other, but then the next day we're cooled off and we're all good. And I think we've learned to stick together because we understand, like, hey, it's and not only the MAC, but whether it's the SoCon, the ACC, Big Ten, it's almost like your conference against every other conference in a certain way. So it's been good to, it was good to stay in the MAC, and guys like John Stutzman and my brother at Lock Haven and Ferraro and Beasley and Greenlee, and guys have just been a lot of the coaches have been around quite a long time, and a few newer coaches with the Buffalo coach and some other guys, but in general, just a good group of guys. A lot of really great coaches, great people that care about their program. They're, we fight tooth and nail to get our guys recognized, to get them, the respect that they deserve. We'd love to see our guys make it to nationals and, get that exposure and bring that to the campuses. And so it's been good. I think the MAC, again, it's a proving ground of, we're all getting, for the most part, the same type of kids. You're a couple times state place winners. If you get a kid that's a state champ or a 2-time state champ, that's a good pickup for the MAC. And I don't know, with all this other changes and NIL stuff, where that's going to change. But for us as coaches, I think we get excited to get a kid that's, maybe not getting a ton of big looks, and we develop that kid and they do really, really well for themselves and they make it to nationals. They maybe become an All-American. I think there's something to be said about that journey as an athlete, that development and getting them to the highest level from a MAC school that you can really be proud of and you can really hang your hat on and tell stories and talk about till you can't talk anymore. And I think, like, giving Lock Haven some praise. I mean, they've done that more than most. They take these PA kids that are maybe state place winners and they find a way to, get on the podium or make it to nationals. And, they're leading the MAC as far as conference titles in the last 4 years. And, I think everybody's, maybe they don't want to admit to it, but everybody's chasing them in a way and trying to keep up with them. And we're no different. I mean, I think we have more, I guess we have a bigger campus. I would think we have some more resources, but they have the tradition. And same with Edinburgh, Clarion, all these schools, Bloomsburg, they have really good traditions, but all that stuff matters. But it when it comes, I guess, to the end of the year, it's kind of like, tradition's thrown out the window and you just got to get it done. And it's the team that believes in themselves and the team that can has the right culture and trust in the coaching staff and is trained the right way, stays the healthiest and peaks at the last, 2 days at the MAC championships or 3 days at nationals that really, earns their spot and recognition. So, but yeah, the other thing I guess I love about the MAC, I feel like it's it can be pretty wide open, that there's not, I mean, other than Lock Haven winning a lot of those MAC titles, like Central Michigan could have won last year, the year before. They were right there. I mean, even teams like Ryder and Northern Illinois. I mean, I think any team that gets hot at the right time, or I guess picks up a few good transfers can really win the conference championship. And I don't think that can be said for a lot of other conferences with the Big 10, Big 12. I mean, Penn State, Oklahoma State. I mean, I feel like they got a pretty good lock on those conferences. And the MAC, I think it's wide open, and it's going into the end of the year. Anything can happen, and I think it makes it exciting. And fans should want to see, like, hey, who's going to come out on top? Who's going to be holding the trophy?
I was at Big Tens last year, like during one of the breaks or media breaks or whatever, and I was literally watching the MAC like semifinals or something on my cell phone because I was like, I got to see what's happening. I got to see who's
Yeah.
beating who or whatever. But no, because I totally get it. Like, there's parity is a good thing. It's fun. It's exciting. You know. One thing I wanted to get to, he brought up health a couple times. You had wrestled, and it still is the record, I believe, career matches at Penn State, 184 career matches. So talk a little bit about load management, keeping people healthy. I mean, that was just kind of, I mean, obviously you did it the most there. So like it, but it was still kind of more regular, I think, to have 120 to 150. And you obviously still exceeded that. So just talk a little bit about your perspective and how you kind of talk to your athletes and coaches about balancing health versus the grit and the experience piece.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I probably learned the hard way, dealing with all, and I mean my brother too, really, but just the injuries we have now. I think last week my neck was jacked up, and this week my back's, messed up. So just having all sorts of things that I guess probably stem from wrestling, over 200 matches in college, because my freshman year at Edinburgh, I think I was like 22-3 or 22-4. Then you throw in a bunch of freestyle matches and you're probably close to 300. But yeah, but that was our mentality. I mean, we grew up in PA. We grew up wrestling every weekend. We thought that's what we need to do to get better. And even though our coaches probably didn't recommend us going to these extra tournaments and open tournaments, they couldn't stop us. We were there to wrestle. We understood, hey, we love competing. We love scrapping. A lot of times it was my brother and I in a car going to West Virginia Open or, Edinburgh Open or wherever it was. It didn't matter. We were all aboard. We thought that's what you're supposed to do, and it paid off for us. For others, they couldn't stay healthy. They couldn't handle the grind, or they, couldn't make it to tournaments, or they didn't want to go to tournaments. I don't know. So it's different for everybody. But what I've kind of learned is really there is a balance. And I still believe that your first year, your second year, you have to compete as much as possible. You got to get out on the mat. You got to go through, the warm-ups and the weigh-ins and the preparing for those events. And you got to compete. You got to be able to evaluate where you're at, what you're doing, and you learn along the way. And hopefully you have some good coaches that can coach you up and teach us some stuff. But you got to learn by doing, and practice is great. We wrestle a lot of matches, a lot of live, but it's just not the same. You can be a competitor in practice and not be a successful competitor on the mat. So for us, it was just learn by doing, on the job training, and we loved it. I mean, maybe we loved competing in front of people, which I think you have to learn to do. You can't be afraid to walk out in front of a crowd and just think, hey, these people are here for me, and I'm going to give them a show. Win or lose, lay it on the line. And good wrestling fans respect hard effort, hustle, and you're not going to win them all. You're just not going to win them all. But you win more and more as time goes on. So with our team, I think more than ever we talk about just the simple silly stuff of like getting gourd warm-ups and cool downs and taking care of your body, and getting into the ice baths, and we got a cryo machine at Ken, and just using those resources. Where back in the day it was like, hey, grab some ice, stretch out a little bit. But as coaches, we have to make it mandatory and demand that these kids, they warm up the right way, they cool down the right way. And it's really about time. I mean, people just don't want to take the time to do these things. Yeah. But I think we can really speak to the fact that, like, hey, if you don't do this, there's a chance that you won't be wrestling as many matches as you would and getting as good as you could if you did all these small things. So constant preaching of, hey, this is what it takes to stay healthy, and this is the expectation. So as coaches, we can always do better at that. I mean, we're it's to take 15 minutes to stretch after practice. People in a shower, coaches want to get home to their family. They're hungry. There's always something going on, but that honestly, it's more important at times, depending on the time of the year and where you're at, the rest and recovery, getting in the training room and taking care of your body. So, and yeah, I even talked to the guys today about it a little bit too, but just communicating about that stuff more. If you're feeling like crap and you just lifted a lot and now you got to go to practice, and like, if you're feeling it, let me know. I mean, I'm not going to hold you out of practice, but I'm also not going to make you do, an hour live wrestling. I think as coaches, we have to understand our student athletes a little bit more and know what they can handle. And yeah, we're always going to push them a little bit, but I'd rather err on the safe side, especially, early on, until they're built up and their bodies are ready to take on the challenges of Division I wrestling. So, and I think a lot of coaches are kind of going this way. I mean, there's, you can look at different coaching styles and determine what direction they're going, with Iowa and Penn State, and even watching someone like the inside stuff with Oklahoma State. I mean, yeah, those guys are the best of the best, but you still want to learn from what they're doing and understand like why it works for them, and kind of make, I guess, use that information and create your own philosophy with all that stuff. But as coaches, we gotta look out for our student athletes, and if they're not healthy, then they're not feeling great. They're not wrestling at their best. They're not able to give good energy. So we want them feeling best on match days. So just finding as many ways as possible to get them feeling fresh and having good energy.
I like it. Last question. Obviously, it's getting late, and but I would be remiss if I didn't have this opportunity to ask you about not only coaching against your brother Scott and just everything that you guys have been through, right? So just talk about how cool it is that you guys are in the same conference, have gotten to compete against each other, see each other all the time, and just kind of what that's like.
Yeah, it's been neat. Even in our early coaching days, when I was at Kent the first time, I think we wrestled Virginia a few times when he was there. And then, of course, when he went to Lock Haven, wrestling him there. And we probably talk every other day, maybe every day. It is kind of funny. I think there's definitely a sense now of a little bit, I don't know. I don't want to say intimidation, but I think he knows. I think he's up for the challenge and excited about what we have going on at Kent, and always jokes around like, if you guys want to come hold the trophy, come on down, we'll show it to you and stuff. So it's kind of like, it's fun, but I do think he's like a little bit worried that, we're going to chase him down a little bit and come after him. And at Cleveland State, we did beat them, not this past year, but the year before, which is a pretty big upset, with all the things we were going through and, just having a few scholarships. We went down there and beat them. So it's exciting to compete against him, but it's also, cool to see the success that he's having and the work that he's putting in. And there's not too many coaches that work harder than him at building the community, doing events, getting people involved. I mean, he like all hours of the day, that dude's trying to find a way to get an edge on schools, whether it's, the state schools, Clarion, Bloom, Edinburgh. Like he's, all those guys work hard, but he definitely has a lot of people behind him and a lot of motivation, a lot of energy, and it's just nonstop. So we've certainly I've learned a lot from him and still get tips from him probably weekly on some of the stuff that he's doing. And he's always willing to help, with whatever I ask, whether it's something with, some marketing stuff or fundraising stuff or just, scheduling stuff. So that's the neat part, having somebody that you can always just reach out to, and they're going through the same thing you are and has really done what we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, there's, there's no secret. It's just a lot of a lot of hard work and getting the right kids and putting them in the right position. So even at a small school like Lock Haven, they're doing all those things the right way, and they have a ton of success. And I mean, I truly believe, that Kent will provide that opportunity for me and our student athletes. And, our goal is to win MAC championships, so, and, nobody's real patient, nobody wants to wait. Nobody wants to say, hey, maybe next year. Like, no matter what team you have to believe that you can win. And we believe we can win. We believe with the transfers we have coming in, the kids on the team, like, yeah, we're going to compete, and if the kids know that, then I think they're going to be, have better energy and work their butts off to do it.
No, I love it, man. I'm really excited for what you guys are going to do at Kent State, and really appreciate you giving me the time here and to highlight the program and the plans moving forward. And keep getting better. What is the phrase? I love the phrase, but I always forget it. The high tide raises all ships, something like that. So the better everyone else gets, the better the conference gets, and everybody wins. So more allocations. So
that's it, man. Yeah, man, we have to get better as a conference. And there's no doubt, looking at what some of these other coaches are doing, like between Buffalo and Bloomsburg's getting better, and George Mason's got a really good team, and
yeah, they do.
Ryder's always scrappy picking up the transfers. And I mean, I know eventually it's going to pay off when we're going to get 30, 35 allocations instead of 25. But yeah, we all have to do our part, and we got to work together as coaches. And I think I mean, as much as we can, the MAC coaches, they work together, and we get along pretty well. So it's definitely a cool conference.
Awesome, man. So, we'll appreciate the time, Coach, and we'll catch you later.
You got it. All right. Thank you.